All right, what's up, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, hit that bell notification button. Right now, hit that subscribe button. It's your first time here. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell notification so you'll be alerted anytime I drop new content. Also, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BoxingWave10. Let's get right into it. All right. I want to have some closure with this whole Charlo, Brian Castano thing. I want to address a few things that I've read, that I've heard since the fight. All right. It's only been 2 days since the fight. And I've read and seen a whole lot, and I have an issue with a lot of things that I've been seeing and I've been reading. It's a close fight. It was a competitive fight. You have one that I felt won more rounds. You had the other fighter that I felt was more capable of hurting his opponent, which is what we saw. It was a close fight. I even went back and listened to my own breakdown and thought that everything that I said in that breakdown was right, except for the fact that I thought Charlo was going to find a way to pull off the victory. He didn't do it. I don't think he won the fight, but I do think it was a close fight. And that's my guy. Charlo's my guy. That is my friend. I've supported him. I've been following him his whole pro career. That is my guy. But I got to call it the way I see it. I thought Castano edged the fight. I thought it was close. I think 115, 113 is fair either way. Okay, I thought the draw was fair. All right, but just like everyone else, I had an issue with 117, 111. Okay, I don't see how a fight like that could be 117, 111. All right, there were some swing rounds in there, and I feel like even if you gave either fighter every swing round that was in there, I don't see how you could come up with 117, 111 for for Charlo. But for either one, I thought it was wide regardless. Too wide. So with that being said, that judge should be attacked. That judge should be criticized. All right. Go to the commission, complain to commissioner, call, write letters, do whatever you have to do. But if you want something to be done about this, it should be towards that judge and every other judge that gave us these wide scorecards on very competitive fight. Now, you might think Castano won. You was like this pressure. I get it. You might think Jamel won. You liked his jab. You like his right hand. You like the fact that he hurt him a few times. You could, whatever way you got it, cool. Whatever way you got it is cool. But I remember before this fight, because I did a breakdown last week that barely got views because no one cared. It was an undisputed fight, similar to Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez. No one cared. They weren't pushing for the fight enough. The fans didn't care about the fight enough. People were talking about everybody else that's not fighting each other more than that fight. And the same with this fight right here. People didn't care. They saw Charlo. They saw a guy that they weren't familiar with. And people did not care. Now, over a sudden, Castano is Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. or a senior. Now he's the greatest thing that we've ever seen. Castano did exactly what I said he was going to do in this fight. Go back. The video is still up. I just made it last week and barely enough of you didn't even watch the video, which is fine because people pay attention with more with what they're familiar with. People didn't care about the fight. Let's be real. But I knew going into this fight that Castano was going to be hard to beat on points. Because of his volume. The guy drew over 1,100 punches in his last fight. I knew he was going to be an issue for Jamel because of his style, because of the pressure. But I also said that Jamel is more capable of hurting him. And those are going to be the rounds. I said this in the breakdown. The only thing I was wrong on is that I thought Jamel was going to win. Find a way to win. That's the only thing I was wrong on. Few of you was here. See, a lot of you saw the video. I'm sure some of you are going to still go back and watch the video. All right, but the fight went exactly the way I said it was going to go. Excuse me. It went exactly the way I said it was going to go. The pressure versus the power. All right. I knew Castano was going to be his toughest opponent. All right, I know Tony Harrison is more familiar. I know they had a better build-up leading up to both of those fights. I know Jason Rosario was coming off of his win against J-Rock. I know that was a big win for him. All right, so I know in that fight, a lot of people thought Jason Rosario had a better chance of beating Charlo in that fight. You know? I understand all of this. But Castano beating Soro, beating Deverenchenko, beating who else did he beat? All right, had Lara fight. I thought he won against Lara. Lara's my dude. I love Lara. He's one of my favorite fighters. But I thought Castano edged it. I thought he edged him too. But they got a draw there. All right. I thought Castano he beat Tesoro, which is what I was expecting him to do. Dude's a tough fighter. I give him credit for going straight into an undisputed fight with Charlo. And I give Charlo credit for going into an undisputed. He could do the same exact thing that everybody else is doing. And at this point, you know what? I want to see the rematch. And I'm going to address the rematch more in a little bit. But you guys are criticizing the wrong person here. You guys, these narratives that you try, I'm going to get to all of that in a minute. You guys are the problem here. You are part of the problem. Because you guys are giving more criticism on a guy that's actually trying to fight the best people in this division, more so than the guys that's not doing anything at all. This is exactly why certain fighters are cherry picking every fight and getting paid a lot of money to cherry pick every fight and then keep it that way. This is why they're not chasing undisputed. And you know who I'm talking about. This is exactly why these guys say, you know what? The hell with all of that tough undisputed stuff. I'm going to fight anybody I want from any division, and I'm going to just keep it at that. Because as soon as you get into a close competitive fight with someone, people are going to criticize you for something that you're not in control of. Jermell Charlo is not in control of what that judge, that 117, 111 judge does. He is not in control of that. He's not in control of that. It's nothing he could do about that. It's nothing. Even if you think Castano won, even if you think the scorecards are wide, if that judge gave it 115, 113 for Charlo, the outrage wouldn't be this ridiculous. It would not be. I know you guys are going to say, yeah, it would, because Charlo lost by X amount of rounds. No, it would not be. That scorecard was impossible. It was impossible. And that's the reason for the outrage. And the outrage is warranted towards the judge. And the judge only. Neither fighter deserves any kind of criticism for that fight. It was a good fight, one of the better fights of the year. It was an important fight. Yes, I would have loved to see a winner. But we didn't get it. Hopefully we get the rematch next. Speaking on a rematch next, let's end one of these narratives that's going around, because I already see you guys building up. It's been 36 hours since the fight. It's been 36 hours. It hasn't been a full 2 days since the fight, and people are already saying that Charlo is ducking Castano for a rematch. Now, Castano could say whatever he wants. He can say, well, I don't think this guy's going to fight me in a rematch. I don't think he's gonna duck me for the rematch. That's cool. That's cool. If he believes that, fine. I seen the interview. Charlo said he wants a rematch, but he didn't say it with confidence. He said, maybe, I don't know when we're going to get the rematch. I want the rematch, but I don't know when he's going to get a rematch. That doesn't sound like a confident fighter. It could be a potential duck, but it's not a duck. It's not a duck until he ducks him. It's not a duck until he ducks him. I've said this before, and I've been consistent with other fighters and you fans that jumped the gun too soon. Because if you guys are criticizing him today for ducking Castano, and he ends up fighting Castano next in his very next fight, because there's not much left out there to do, then what's the point of, if you are a Twitter or tweeter person, if you're a content creator, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, whatever it is, and if you're already pushing this Charlo ducking Castano thing, if you're doing that already and Charlo is going to end up fighting, you owe him an apology. Because that didn't happen yet. But you guys are pushing this because you're upset at the scorecard and at the fact that it was a draw. The fight didn't go the way you thought it was going to go or the way you saw it going. So you guys are pushing something that might not even be the case. You calling him a ducker without him even having the opportunity to duck him. Now, did he sound confident in that post-fight interview? Absolutely not. He didn't sound confident. How could you? He knows the fight was close. He know he got hurt harder in this fight more than he has in any other fight. He knows he got hurt. He know the fight was close. He knows that his coach told him he needed a KO to win, and then he got a draw. He's happy that he escaped another loss. So of course he's not going to be confident. Of course he's going to say he wants a rematch, but he doesn't know when, because he's not confident. But give the guy, it's human. Give him a couple of days. I mean, Jesus Christ, give him an opportunity to watch the fight again. He might watch the fight again and say, oh, no, you know what? I can work on these things and beat this guy. Because I made a video yesterday talking to you guys. And guess what? As many of you Castano winners that thought that he won the fight, many of you, same people, said that Charlo's going to win a rematch because he can adjust to certain things that he did wrong in that first fight. Some of you don't agree with that. But many of you agree that Charlo can make adjustments. And if you're familiar with Castano, he fought the same fight that we've always seen him fight. He did exactly what we expected. If you've been watching the guy, he did exactly what he expected. He was winning rounds based off his pressure, his volume, because that is the way he beats his opponents. What did Errol Spence say? One thing in respect, I lost him in the amateurs. Yeah, one thing I'll say about him is he throws a lot of punches. That's what he does. That's what he does. That's part of the reason why I think he edged the fight. But maybe Charlo watched the fight again and say, you know what? I think I could beat this guy. I want an immediate rematch. So where is all this ducking talk coming from? You guys overuse the word duck. I've been saying this for years on this channel. How many videos have I said that? You guys overuse the word duck. Now, if Charlo do not fight him, then you could criticize him all you want. But wait for that to happen. You guys are jumping the gun again, like you normally do, because you're emotional, you're angry, and a lot of you just like being outraged every other week in boxing. That's like the new culture of boxing. Let's just be angry and outraged and complain about everything. Another thing, you guys are trying to spin this narrative. Listen, you don't have to like the PBC. All right, the way the PBC work is, yes, they are more in-house than any other network or promoter or whatever way you want to call it. They are more in-house. They're more likely to stay in-house. Okay, but my feelings on that is, if anyone has the larger stable of fighters, top fighters in a certain division, any network, any promoter is going to put the fight together for his own fighters before he goes outside of the network. Matchroom will do it too. Top Rank would do it. Golden Boy would do it. All of them would do it. They will all do it if they had the majority of the fighters in a certain division. If they had it, they would keep them in-house first. Now, the only time I have a problem with it is when the in-house fighters, A, the in-house fighters don't want to fight each other, or B, the in-house fighter don't have anybody in-house to fight. So they have to go on the outside. And when the outsiders are throwing you, throwing contracts at you, and you still don't want to take, and they're good contracts, and they're telling you, listen, let me just say it, Jamal Charlo situation. If other fighters from outside of your network or your promotions are giving you offers, great offers, they sending them to you and you're neglecting them, then I can see where the criticism comes. I want him to fight Demetrius Andrade. I want him to fight Canelo Alvarez or whoever else that's top fighters out there, okay? Same with Triple G. I want Triple G to fight some of these other fighters outside of Canelo. Okay, I want these fights. So that's when the criticism come in. But you guys are trying to start a narrative. I don't know where you're getting it from. You're not getting it from here. I don't know where you're getting it. I don't know if you're getting it from Twitter. I don't know what. I've been spending a lot of time on Twitter, and I'm actually like starting to think that maybe I should spend less time on there, because the stupid things that I read all day on there. I mean, Jesus. I mean, the comments and the YouTube videos are dumb, but the Twitter tweets are just as bad, if not worse. Okay, but I don't know where you guys are getting this from. This whole PBC judge thing that I keep reading. This is another PBC thing. This is a PBC thing. I keep reading these comments. This is a PBC judge thing. They protect their fighters. Was Manny Pacquiao and Jeff Horn on the PBC? Because you guys were outraged about that. Was Manny Pacquiao against Tim Bradley won on the PBC? Because you was outraged about that. When Floyd got his draw against Canelo Alvarez, was that a PBC thing? Was that an Al Heyman thing? Or was that a Canelo Alvarez Golden Boy thing? When one judge gave 2 rounds to Gennady Golovkin in the first Canelo fight, when Canelo was running his ass off after the 3rd or 4th round, was that a 118, 110? Was that a PBC thing? When when they gave Chocolatito 3 rounds in their fight, in their rematch earlier this year, was that a PBC thing? Where you coming from with this PBC thing? Like, what's, like, you don't have to, the PBC might not be your favorite. All right, and this whole network thing is annoying too, but that's a whole nother thing. All right, because I'm starting to feel like the PBC means something. When you say PBC, these PBC fighters, where's that coming from? Because Pacquiao left Top Rank to go to the PBC, and they gave him a close decision against Thurman when they didn't have to. Did Bradley or Horn do any better than Thurman in their fights? But they gave it to Manny Pacquiao, right? When Thurman he's always been an Al Heyman guy. He's always been with the PBC. They could have easily gave it to their own fighter. But they didn't. They gave it to Manny Pacquiao. They gave it to Manny. He didn't get robbed like he did against Bradley and Jeff Horn. So where are you guys coming up with that? You guys are leaving comments talking about, oh, I'm worried about the Spence fight. You worry he's going to get robbed. Were you worried when he got robbed against Tim Bradley and Jeff Horn? Because that's a Bob Arum Top Rank thing. So how are you worried about Manny Pacquiao now? Where is this coming from? All right, so listen, if you guys are going to do that and be here on the channel, because you guys leave comments all the time. Oh, I'm the best channel. Oh, I'm fair. This, that, and third. If you guys are going to do that here, all right, make sure you as a fan, not me as a content creator, you as a fan, make sure you're on the same page with that. Make sure you're doing your justice as a boxing fan, as a fair boxing fan. Make sure keep that same energy too. Don't come here, because I'm not a fanboy channel. I'm not a fanboy channel. I don't just push certain fighters and certain narratives, and I don't push for certain promoters. I don't push for certain networks. I'm not pushing against certain networks, certain fighters. All right, I'm not doing anything. There's plenty of channels that do that. So if you're looking for that, I'm not the right channel for you. But if you gotta make those kind of comments, make them on your Twitter account. Make them on other people's videos. Don't come to my comments and leave stupid comments like that, because those are not true comments. That's not true. So don't come here talking about, oh, the judges in the PBC. I even seen Willie Monroe. Willie Monroe, and I got nothing against Willie Monroe. You know what I mean? I know he was exonerated on that whole drug thing with Charlo. The fight was canceled. All right, Charlo had to fight Matt Korobov as a replacement fighter because he, and I went there that night. I went down there in the night because I do like Willie Monroe Jr. I paid for my tickets. I went to that fight that night. I wanted to see him and Jamal Charlo fight. All right? But we got Matt Korobov, a guy that we thought was past it because he hasn't fought for years. But I remember how good he was when he was in his prime. All right, but I seen Willie Monroe tweet something about these Charlos always getting off and shit. And then I seen Ashley Knuckles. Shout out to Ashley Knuckles, by the way. Ashley Knuckles left a comment saying Harrison. Well, Harrison, they gave the decision to Harrison. What do you mean these Charlos are always getting off? That's a decision. That fight wasn't even. Harrison didn't even do as good as Castano, to me. Castano did better than Harrison in the first fight. I thought that fight was even closer than this one. I mean, if you think, if you think Harrison won the fight against Jamel in the first fight, I think you could make a better case that Castano won the fight against Jamel over Tony Harrison. But Willie Monroe believes that these guys keep getting gifts. Where are you coming from with that? Based on what? Based on what? So listen, look, let's stop this whole narrative. Gifts, robberies, poor scoring, that happens everywhere. I'm not going to sit here and do the long research of recent fights that had ridiculous scorecards. This one judge wide scorecard thing is been a thing. It's very common in the sport now. All right, I'm guessing we at least had 5 or 6 of them already this year. I'm talking about in the main fights alone. I'm not even talking about, people think Aleem won the fight on the same card. On the same exact card, we got a fight where a fighter lost a fight that probably didn't lose a fight, but it should at least have got a draw. But Dow did not win that fight. He did not win that fight. But if you're going to give the young, undefeated prospect a chance, give him a gift. He didn't win the fight. And that was on the same card. We get these all the time. Let's not make it out to be like it's a PBC thing. That's not true. Please, leave that shit somewhere else. Don't bring that shit here. We're going to be fair across the board. If you're here because you represent some kind of, like if you follow a bunch of people that's about pushing narratives against certain fighters or certain networks, if you're pushing that, this is not the right place for you. We're gonna be consistent here. We're gonna be consistent here. Go to those other channels for that. That's not what we're doing here. All right. So listen, I'm gonna close this out. Jamel Charlo rematch. Jamel Charlo, please fight this guy again. If you're watching this, please watch this fight again. Fight this guy again. Please fight this guy again. Immediately. You know why? I've been consistent with that. I thought Joshua should fight Andy Ruiz immediately. A lot of you guys are saying Joshua shouldn't do it. Fight this guy right away. Watch the fight. Work on those issues those issues you had in your fight. And fight him again. If you win, you're the better man. And we can move on from this. If you lose, then you lose. But you know what? At least you fought the best. Real fans are going to respect it. Not these overnight fans. There's a lot of overnight fans that came here to pretend to be supporting Jamel Charlo. You know why? Because they don't like his brother. Or because they don't like Wilder. So they saw the comments he made against Wilder and they jumped on the band. Y'all don't like Jamel Charlo. Let's be real. You don't like Jamel Charlo. A lot of y'all don't like Wilder. And because he made those comments, you guys jumped on the bandwagon. You don't like Jamel Charlo. You don't. You don't care if he won or lost. A lot of you guys you don't listen, you don't like him. You're not a fan of him. Don't act like you're a fan of him. But if you are a fan of him and if you are a fan of boxing, Jamel should do an immediate rematch against Brian Castano. And the only way that I see that the rematch won't happen is if the WBC gets in the mix of this, or one of these sanctioning body gets in the mix and say, no, we're mandating Erickson Lubin rematch. We're mandating that. Erickson Lubin is waiting too long. He's your mandatory. We're mandating that. We're mandating that, and you have to fight him. Then it's going to be a problem. And you know how the WBC is. I'm not talking PBC. I'm saying the WBC has done that plenty of times when a fight, a unification or a fight that we all want to see is supposed to go down, and the WBC steps in and says, nah, you got to fight this guy first. So that's the only way I can see this fight not happening. You know, I know Tim Tszyu is the mandatory, I believe, for the WBO, or at least he's the number one ranked guy. I don't know if he's a mandatory, but I know he's the number one guy for the WBO, which is the title that Castano is currently holding. But I can see that happening. But if it's by choice, if Jermell Charlo decides, he makes a decision not to fight Brian Castano and moves on to fight somebody else without it being mandatory, then yes, it's a duck. But let that happen first before we give all the criticism of him being a duck based on him not being confident in a post-fight interview. He never had a fight in his life like that. So of course he doesn't have confidence. But if he goes and fight him in a rematch, then we cool. We good. Everything is good. We can move on and see the rematch. It was a great fight, and maybe it'll be a better second fight. But let's not create things and jump the gun like a lot of you are doing. We're not going to do that. At least we're not going to do that here. All right, so I think I said everything I needed to say. Hopefully we get the rematch. Brian Castano clearly wants the rematch. And it should happen because there's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere else to go. I don't think Brian Castano is going to lose to anybody else. And I don't think Jermell Charlo is going to lose to anybody else in that division. There's nowhere else to go. They should fight each other. And this is why I don't understand the criticism, because these two are the best fighters in the division. Castano might not be as popular, but he is clearly a threat. If he can beat all of these guys, including and do that well against Jermell Charlo. It doesn't matter what you knew about him or what you didn't know about him. It doesn't matter. The fact is, he went in there and gave Jermell Charlo hell. That's a fact. So at this point, Jermell, we saw what he could do at 154 all these years. And we saw what Castano was able to do in his last fight and other fights. So what that means is we need to see these two fight immediately. I want it. I hope it happens. And that's my stance on it. But I'm not going to sit here and call anyone a ducker unless he actually ducks them. It's 36 hours. We haven't had a full 2 days since the fight, and you guys are already talking about he's ducking this guy. What are you talking about? Are these guys in negotiations already? What are you talking about? What fight did you see where the rematch was made immediately within 2 days of the first fight? So let's sit back and wait and calm down. Get out of your emotions. Get out your feelings. Think straight. And let's wait and see what happens from here. Hopefully we get the rematch. If we don't, then we'll talk more about it. But if we do, then what is this all about? It's all about the judge. Go after him. Stop attacking the fighters that are taking on the best challenges and struggling. I'd rather you struggle against one of the other best fighters than just take up easy fights and keep getting knockouts. Because Jermell can do that. He didn't have to fight Brian Castano. He could have fought Lupin again, which is not an easy fight neither. But we already saw what happened in the first fight. So I'd rather him fight Brian Castano. He's a tougher fighter. Stylistically, he's a better fighter for Charlo, specifically. All right? All right, I'm out, man. Peace.